As a bonus, I also wanted to go through how to use Azure proxies to use a proxy to point to our application, because as of right now, our application is stored on the Blob storage, and it uses the API from the functions. But to access it, we actually have to go to um, the Blob storage here. And so if you want to ask somebody to navigate to this URL, it just doesn't look that great. But what we can do is use, if you have a custom domain that you want to use to host the application, I'm going to show you how to do that. I actually happen to have purchased storemynote.com, and that's the one that we're going to be using. But in order to set that up, the first thing we're going to need to do is create the proxy to point our application to this site over here. And so to do that, right now, if we go to our actual web app URL, it's storemynote.azurewebsites.net. I'll open that up real quick. And as you can see, this is the website that you get. But what we're going to do is create a proxy so that when I go to this web app, it's actually going to point to the application here. And so to do that, we just go down to proxies here. So we're gonna, we don't have any open, but we're going to create one. And I'm going to just name this domain redirect. The route template is going to be, I'm just going to use /, so that's just going to be the actual navigation here. And I'm just going to leave it as all methods. And then for the backend URL, I want to point it to our actual application here. So I'm going to copy that and paste it here. And I'm going to create that. So essentially now, when we go to this URL here, we should get this, our app here. So let's give that a try. I'm gonna navigate here, and it does work, but as you can see, we aren't getting our files because of the relative URL change. So what we need to do is we're going to, let me just show you the HTML in here. These things are actually like styles.css, and these images are not actually referencing the base URL for this application anymore. So what we need to do is go to our code, and we need to add a base ref in here for the node. So I'm just going to add that up at the top here and add that. So now the base reference for all of these files that we're referencing is going to be the actual Blob storage folder, so, or container. So I'll save that, and then I'm going to need to upload that to our Blob storage here. So I have my static files. I'll drag and drop that over and replace it. And let's refresh this and see if it works. Let's give it a second. And now we have, when we go to storemynote.azurewebsites.net, it points us to our Blob storage. So if we want to test this, store my note, and it works. And if I want to, let me just do this again. This is a test. Store my note, copy this, retrieve it, and the app is working fine. And so now we have it pointing to our actual web app, or our functions app URL. We have our domain, and now let me show you how to hook that up so that our domain can link to our URL here. So just go back to your function and go to application settings. So platform settings. And you can see here there's custom domains. You want to click on that. And over here, add a host name. So my host name, as I mentioned, is I bought storemynote.com from Google Domains. I'm going to validate that. And so in order for that to link up, I need to go to my Google Domains and change the DNS settings so that it links. And so I've got this Google domain that I purchased, storemynote.com. And I just went to, if you purchase it from GoDaddy, or you can purchase it from Azure, there are multiple different providers you can go through. I just happen to go through with Google. Just go down to custom resource records here and then add a CNAME for that. It's going to be www, and the domain name is going to be storemynote.azurewebsites.net. So I will add that. And sometimes it does take a little while for that to load. I'm going to go back here to Azure, and what I need to do is validate that it is hooked up to my domain, and it is. So I'm going to add this host name, and it has successfully been added. So now if I go to Store My Note, it should redirect me. So it does redirect me. So now I can use my domain storemynote.com, and I can store this is from my custom domain. So I'm going to store this, and I'm getting an error. Another thing we're going to need to do, since it is coming from a different domain, is there's the cross origins resource sharing. So just go back over to the application or platform settings, the cores here, and we just need to add that in here. So I'm going to add that in here. I'll also add the non-HTTPS. So let's see, it's giving me an error. Maybe remove this. Oh, that's in here. So make those changes. I'll save that. Once that's saved, we'll give it a try. So that has successfully been saved. I'll go back here, refresh my application at my domain storemynote.com. And once that's loaded, we'll give it a try. It should work just like it worked from our Blob and also from our Azure website, the application endpoint. So here we are, storemynote.com. This is from my custom domain, Store My Note, and it is working successfully. Let me try to retrieve it. And it is working successfully. So that's just a really quick demonstration on how you can actually use the Azure proxies to point to link your blob storage to your actual application endpoint, and then using the custom domains to point it to a domain that you purchase.